Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Health, Wellness, and Dr. Nugent call. And today it is all about Plus, which is a really exciting call. For those who don't know me, my name is Poppy, and I am your marketing lead here at Mannatech, Australasia. And today I have the privilege of introducing Dr. Nugent. So, Dr. Nugent is Mannatech's Global Wellness Director and Chairman of the Global Scientific Advisory Board. Dr. Steve Nugent, who has more than 45 years' experience in the area of integrative medicine. He has tested more than 6,000 dietary supplement products and has formulated more than 100. He is internationally recognized as an expert in his field and has been teaching doctors for more than 30 years. He is Mannatech's most requested speaker worldwide, so we are always very, very lucky to have him here with us on these Saturday morning calls. Dr. Nugent has earned multiple degrees, graduating with top honours at both undergraduate and graduate levels. His areas of study include integrative medicine, health and wellness psychology, leadership psychology, organisational psychology, nutrition science, and business administration. I will learn these off by heart one day. I will do that. Dr. Nugent has served as president as the International Association of Complementary Medicine and is the president of the American Naturopathic Medical Association and is a professional member at the American College of Nutrition. He was awarded the Servant's Heart Award by Mannatech Associates in 2007. And Dr. Nugent was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, served his country with honor as a United States Marine, and has been a resident of Texas for nearly 2 decades. And now it is time for me to pass you over to Dr. Nugent. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning to you, Poppy. It is always a pleasure
Always.
talking to all of our folks in Australasia. So
I
this is
know we
great.
all
Thank you for the introduction. I
I will
know
learn it off
that's
by
a tough
heart one
read.
day.
Yeah, it's a tough read.
It's a lot.
And that's the short version.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
well,
I'll pass
good
you
morning
over.
to everyone in Australasia. It is so good to be with you again. And this morning, we're going to be talking about Plus. Plus is pretty interesting stuff. That is Plus. Plus is a product that really stands on its own. It's a product that has been around for so long in Mannatech. In fact, it was Mannatech's very first product. So that's a long time. That's more than 30 years ago. Now, it actually, the first batch was called Epi Plus, but then from that time forward, it was just called Plus because too many people were like, what does that mean? And okay, we just changed it to Plus. Okay, so Plus, this is a great product. In fact, Plus is one of the very first products that I tested when I was looking into Mannatech many, many years ago, about 30 years ago, actually. And I was looking into Mannatech, testing products from various companies. I was testing the glycan product that we used to call Manalo, and we now know it as, it fits our trade name, Manopol. And then also I was given some bottles of Plus, and I began to test that as well. And I was very, very impressed with this product. And I still remain impressed with this product all these years later. In fact, this by itself will say a lot to you. This product, our very first product back 30 years ago, still remains every month, every year, in the top 10 selling products, no matter what technology we come out with. Now that says a lot about a product. In fact, I know associates that I first became acquainted with, let me see, yeah, pretty close to 30 years ago, who were taking Plus then and who are still taking Plus now. Why? because it's such an extraordinary product, because it works so well. So I've given you a little bit of the history of it. It's a product that was developed um, in our first group of, let's say, 5 or 6 products by uh, a product formulator who is now deceased. You know, time marches on. It's just the way it is, I guess. I knew him very well, had a great deal of respect for him. I'm really glad that he came up with this product. And I want to tell you during this presentation, I'm going to answer the FAQs that I know you have. How do I know? Not because I'm psychic, but because I talk with associates almost every day for these last 30 years. And I pretty much know what you're going to ask me in most cases before you ask me. So we're going to cover some of those FAQs that come up with Plus. I'm going to talk to you about what it is and what it is not. That's very important. Both points are equally important. And we'll talk about the traditional uses of it. And then I'll do what you always expect me to do, and that is to go through the ingredients and talk about benefits and what those ingredients are associated with, and so on. So that's what to expect this morning. Well, first of all, let's be real clear with this. Lots of people think that Plus is a woman's product. It's not. It's a human product. Both men and women have things called endocrine glands, and these glands produce hormones. And if you have endocrine glands, as all of us do, men and women, you need to nourish those glands. And that's part of what plant sterols do. That's only part of what they do. And I will address some of those things more specifically as we move forward. But plant sterols have other functions as well that we'll get through. So I just want you to know this is a man's product and a woman's product. I know the way the claims look, and I know traditionally what people have been saying over the years, and they think, oh, it's just for women. It's not just for women. I take Plus every day myself. Wouldn't be without it. I know the difference if I don't take it. So, and men, you will too. So, certainly, all the men listening right now, you want your the women in your life, you want them to be happy and healthy. Well, you should be too, and that's why you should have Plus in your household. All right. So, what is Plus? What's a plant sterol formula? There's a lot of people that call it a plant estrogen formula. That's not what it is. Absolutely not what it is. It is not a hormone. It is not a hormone replacement. And it is not the same as sport. And I get that question all the time. And I think our last talk for Australasia a month ago, I believe, was on sport, I think. I do so many talks, sometimes I get them confused what I said in one country to another country. So just be clear, Plus and sport are not interchangeable, different functions. They do share a few functions that are the same, but the two formulas have different purposes, different designs, okay? They're not interchangeable. If you need sport for all the functions it does, Plus will not take care of that for you. And the reverse is also true. Okay. So just so you know that. Now, here's another question that I just get all the time. And part of this is because people will go on the internet, and the internet, I have a love-hate relationship with the internet. The internet is the most amazing tool ever created. And it's also one of the worst things ever created because people without a scientific background will do a quick search, perhaps a Google search, and they'll find some information that looks good to them. They won't fully understand what they've read. They will then decide that they did understand what they read, and they will begin to quote that in absolutes. I do that in air quotes, in absolutes to everyone. This is what it does. This is the fact. Well, science is objective and science is complicated. And we should probably leave science to the scientists and leave plumbing to plumbers and roofing to roofers. And you know what I'm saying? All right. So I want to be very, very clear on this. The diosgenin in plus, which is one of the most important ingredients in the entire formula, diosgenin cannot be converted to estrogen. Cannot. Under any circumstances, diosgenin cannot be converted into estrogen or DHEA in a human body. Cannot. Full stop. Now, are there papers on the internet that talk about the fact that diosgenin can be converted to estrogen in the laboratory with the use of very specific synthetic chemical catalysts? The answer is yes. But you're not a laboratory and you're not going to eat those synthetic chemical catalysts. So the diosgenin in this formula cannot convert to estrogen or to DHEA. Cannot, full stop. Now, some of you are probably thinking, well, I have this problem. I have this health situation, and my doctor says I shouldn't have anything with estrogen in it. Well, you do what your doctor has advised you to do. That's the smart thing to do. And then I'll repeat again, this cannot be converted into estrogen. Cannot, under any conditions, in the human body. Okay. And I went over that because that is a question that I get constantly. I've been getting for 30 years. I get it all the time. Every time I do a training on plus, I get that question. So we've done it, I think, enough right now. All right. Now the TGA claims, and of course in Australasia, you have to follow the TGA claims. Understand, everyone, that every country or in the case of Australasia, that region has its own regulatory rules. You must follow the regulatory rules of whatever country you are working in. It is crucial that you obey those rules. So the TGA in Australia, for your region, that of Australasia, decides what your health claims are for a product when you're talking about this product with someone else. And their health claims include that this product could decrease, reduce, or even relieve mild muscle spasms and twitches, or menstrual spasms or menstrual cramps. And of course, give you a general sense of health and well-being. Those are the recommendations. And part of the reason why people keep thinking it's only a woman's product is because of these recommendations. Oh, menstrual cramps, it's just for women. No, it's not. We're going to talk with you today about sterols, and I'm going to go through the sterols so that you'll understand the differences. All right. What follows is educational, not promotional. This is an educational training. I want you to understand what the ingredients are, what they do, or what they're associated with based on scientific study. Okay? So, educational, not promotional. Not making claims here. You must follow the claims for the TGA, or if you are going to represent this product in another country, let's say you're going to do it in the EU or in the US or in Japan or Thailand, you have to follow the regulations in that country. And what always astounds me is how the regulators in different countries look at the same material that has the same science and say different things are allowed. It's something I will never be able to understand. For me, science is science, and science should be the same in every country, but for regulators, it's not the case. So make sure that you're following the rules in whatever country you are representing our products in. Okay, Diascorea villosa. Diascorea villosa is one of more than 600 different forms of diascoria. And we use villosa specifically because of the diosgenin compound. And I'll talk to you more about diosgenin in a moment. What we know about this started from North American native medicine. And there are many Indian tribes that, or Native American tribes, and personally, I would rather call them First Nation tribes because there's no such thing as a Native American. No human beings were native to the Western Hemisphere. But anyway, in the United States, we have to say Native American. So break it down however you like. All right. So the First Nation people in America, many of these tribes, discovered something interesting about Diascorea villosa in particular. They found that it did help women significantly during that crucial time of the month with the cramping and the spasms and so on. And they found other uses for it as well as early native medicine forms would research and find. So we do know that the Diascorea, the Mexican wild yam, or wild yam would be really better to say. Most of it grows in Mexico, but it also grows in Florida and in some places of the uh, southernmost United States. It's all about climate, really. So it's rich in steroidal saponins. I'll talk more about that. And diosgenin, in this case, is the most important saponin. And it has been studied for hormone regulation. That is to balance your hormones, okay? It is not a hormone itself, but to help your glands balance their hormones. And you want balanced hormones. It just makes good sense. So all of the traditional stuff that fit in with the claims that you have for TGA, and then in some other countries, those claims go further based on science, not based on marketing, based on science, including things like use for PMS, premenstrual syndrome, and also for hormone regulation and for menopause. Again, good studies in this area. There have also been many studies that have shown us that diosgenin could, in a laboratory, not in a human body, in a laboratory, with the use of certain synthetic chemical catalysts, make progesterone. And that, of course, is very important. And that's what Amanda and team found out about this in their research. In fact, when you go back to the early history of the pharmaceutical industry in the United States, examining Diascorea villosa, they're looking at this sort of native treatment, and they're saying, well, what if there's something that we could use to make a drug for women and then, become fabulously wealthy making this drug? One of the things that they discovered is that diosgenin, when combined with certain synthetic chemicals that can't be made in the human body, that they could actually make things like birth control pills. They could also make things like synthetic estrogen. Okay. Now, your body can't do this, cannot. So it has to be done in the lab. But this is where all the confusion comes for people all over the world who keep thinking, oh, this is a hormone. It's not a hormone, and it can't make estrogen or other hormones in your body. It won't do it. It can't do it. All right. Just so you know. But I'm giving you the full science here to help you understand. We also know from another scientific study done by Lima and group that Lima found that not only could muscle pain be reduced, but also joint inflammation could be reduced And that was the direction of their study on that. Now let's talk for a moment about the bioactive compounds. Bioactive meaning it works in your body, okay? Now the most important bioactive in this product is diosgenin. But there are also phytosterols, plant sterols, that include beta-sitosterol, compesterol, and stigmasterol. Now, compesterol and stigmasterol are talked about a lot in the literature. They have been studied and studied and studied like crazy, and those two things are associated specifically with blood lipids. I'll get to that. Beta-sitosterol is something entirely different. And this is the one that's super important to men. Now, you might say, well, I think I'm just going to change my diet. I'm just going to start eating all these things. So I thought I'd throw this up for you. This is based on diet by region, how much plant sterol, and when I say sterol, I mean combination of sterols, so not just stigmasterol or compesterol or beta-sitosterol, okay, but many, and there are many more sterols than that, not just those three. So I wanted to show you here so you can see what the average diet in different cultures and regions would supply to the average person. Now, the problem with this analysis is this does not break down well, that it's this many milligrams of compesterol and this much of beta-sitosterol. It's not broken down that way. This is just a general overview to show you that you're not getting much in your diet. I don't care what your traditional diet is. You're not getting much plant sterol in your diet every day. Now, phytosterols, the compesterol and the stigmasterol, are associated with lowering cholesterol. Now, in those studies, you had to have 1.3 grams daily of either of those or both of those. Now, that's specific. And when we're talking about plus, a small portion of plus includes stigmasterol and compesterol. Not enough to fit these study parameters. Now, I say this because there are people all over the planet who will tell me that they have used plus and it's improved their cholesterol. Well, it probably has. It probably has contributed with other factors that you're doing to improve your cholesterol. It sure doesn't hurt the situation, and it may help. Beta-sitosterol. Now, this one, and most Americans say cytosterol, makes me nuts when I hear it pronounced that way. Beta-sitosterol, that can help you with something called benign prostate hypertrophy, or the enlarging or the swelling of the prostate gland. This is really important for men. Now, men should be eating some amount of this in their diet, but they're getting tiny, tiny amounts. Men, if you're over 40, you will benefit from feeding your prostate gland the beta-sitosterol. It's almost a certainty. Now, what happens when your prostate gland enlarges, which, by the way, is normal and natural? I'm not talking about a disease process. This is a normal, natural process. As men age, unfortunately, our prostate glands begin to slowly enlarge. As we get older, they get bigger. When the prostate gland enlarges, it gives you all kinds of unpleasant and unwanted symptoms. Men, you know what I'm talking about if you're over 40. Do you have to get up during the night to urinate? Once, twice, 3 times? Well, your prostate gland is, if it has enlarged, and again, we're not talking about a disease, talking about the natural process. If it has enlarged, it's going to stimulate that signal to make you want to urinate more frequently. Some men will get to the point with the enlargement of their prostate that they have to worry about getting in the car for very long because They know they're going to have to stop at some point and find a place to relieve themselves. Okay. So, can beta sitosterol be helpful to men? You bet it can. And you should be eating it in your diet. You're not eating much if you're eating any of it. You're not eating much. And if you're going to extend your lifespan, which I want all of you to do, and I get people laughing at me when I say this, but I'm going to say it again. My personal goal is 147. You can have whatever goal you want, okay? But the human body has the genetic potential to make it to 147 and probably beyond that if we give it what it needs. And I want to make sure everything is healthy as I'm moving forward. Don't you? So, men, this is a man's formula and a woman's formula. It's a human formula. And again, we know there are other studies that discuss the association between various plant sterols. In fact, the combination of sterols that you're looking at on the screen right now, and anti-inflammatories, antioxidant benefit, immune benefits, all are there from these plant sterols. In addition, Diascorea villosa contains things called tannins and polyphenols. Now, some of you are familiar when I say polyphenol right away. Many of you will say, oh, that's like an antioxidant, right? Well, all polyphenols have at least a mild antioxidant effect. And living on planet Earth right now, you need antioxidant support, folks. I mean, there's no way around it. I can't imagine any intelligent person arguing that we're all breathing clean air because we're just not. And I don't care where you live, even in gorgeous New Zealand, even in the outback, I don't care where you live. Okay. You're going to be breathing toxins because they're everywhere on the planet. Our planet is a closed ecosystem. Our planet has weather systems rotating from west to east 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And those weather systems are blowing the pollution with them as they move. So there's nowhere you can be where you don't need antioxidant support. It's just a great thing to have. Tannins also can give you antioxidant support, and depending on which tannins, different ones, different levels of support. We won't get into all that right now. There are also polysaccharides and oligosaccharides. And so you have monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, polysaccharides. And that, so the oligos are, I hate to say medium chain, but they're kind of in the middle. And then the polys are the much longer ones. So you have polys and oligos and some monos saccharides found in Diascorea villosa naturally occurring. And I'll do a little more on that in just a moment. You also have fiber, and of course, fiber is hugely important for gut health for a variety of reasons. Fiber also acts as a prebiotic as well. There are actually trace amounts of essential oils in Diascorea villosa, trace. So I wouldn't talk about it as a benefit with a product because it's not enough really to be one. But I just wanted you to be fully educated in this. And these are the references for the sterols for those of you who care. I know most of you don't, but those are some of the scientific references. Let's talk now about glycans. Now, we've talked a lot recently about glycans. Mannatech is the glycan company, and it is our flagship product. Ambritos is our most important product worldwide. It is the point of distinction between Mannatech and virtually every other company on the planet. So it's very important to talk about it, but I do talk about glycans a lot in my talks for obvious reasons. Every plant contains glycans, different glycans in different plants, but every plant contains glycans. for a variety of reasons. And in fact, everything alive on planet Earth needs glycans. Everything. There's no exceptions to this. Glycans, at the very foundation, support cellular communication. If you want your cells to be able to talk to each other effectively and therefore function effectively, it starts with glycans. And then you can narrow it down. You can narrow it down forever about which glycans do this, which ones do that. But foundationally, it starts with communication. So all plants, all animals, all humans require them. Different ones in different plants, of course. Now, what's important in Plus is that basically you have the ambertose complex in Plus. And ambertose complex is my favorite of all of the products. And I won't go into all the reasons for that right now, but it is my personal favorite. It's the one that I personally use every day. And you have the balance here of glycans you need for cellular communication, but also for a wide variety of other functions, immune support, the general health support, general sense of well-being. I was asked a few days ago when we had one of our quarterly board of directors meetings, and one of the board members said, don't we have 2 brain studies on ambertose? And I said, no, actually we have 7 brain studies on ambertose. Whoa, 7? Yep. Our product ambertose has been so well studied for brain function. And I look at these other companies around the world that have literally 0 studies, literally none. And their whole thing, their flagship products, is supposedly a brain product, a product to help you with memory, a product to help you improve your cognitive function. Well, folks, we actually have studied our ambertose product, and not a little bit, we've studied it a lot. And we know that it supports cognitive function, at least 7 studies, and memory, and a whole list of other factors as well. So it's always important to have the full glycan formula as you find it in ambertose. And then other benefits? Sure, there's some other benefits as well, because all plants, as I mentioned, contain glycans, all of them, no exceptions. And of course, primarily for the cellular communication function, but for a wide variety of other functions. The more we study glycans, and I continue to study glycans every single day, I keep finding studies, one after another, that are astounding about what glycans do. And I'll tell you right now that glycoscience is moving like lightning. Ever since there was a Nobel Prize awarded a couple of years ago, that could not have, they created a product that could not have been created without glycans. Without glycans, the technology couldn't happen. I mean, it's that simple. Well, then the whole world was like, oh, Nobel Prize, glycans. Wow, maybe we should be talking about glycans. And university professors are thinking, maybe I should do some research on glycans. And the research on glycans is moving like lightning now. It's moving so fast, no human being can keep up with it. In fact, I made a joke about this recently at our international manifest that we had that was held in the United States this year. And I made the joke that I put a couple of keywords in a search into something called ChatGPT on glycans. Now, listen, I want to caution everybody. I don't trust that AI yet because it doesn't always give me an accurate response. So don't just assume that you have an accurate response. Science doesn't stop with that. You get a piece of information, you follow up, you make sure the information is correct. That's science, all right? But when I typed this in, it actually was one question I typed into ChatGPT on glycans. It caused my ChatGPT, and I have the paid version, to literally have a nervous breakdown. I mean, it just, It froze up, it couldn't function. It was frozen for days and never gave me a final response because there's too much information. Even for AI right now, there's too much information. So, I mean, AI is going to improve. I know it is. It's improving every day. But don't rely on that, folks. Please don't rely on it because I've already found, well, I'm not going to go through all the instances, but many, many instances where AI has given me an answer which was simply wrong. I mean, it was just wrong. I don't know how else to say it. So don't think that it's at the pinnacle and it's always going to do something great for you because sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So keep that in mind. All right, let's go back to glycans in Diascorea villosa. So you see listed on the screen, you recognize many of these. In fact, some of these glycans are in ambertose, and some of these are not in ambertose. You'll see as an example, raffinose. Raffinose is a whole sort of family of oligosaccharides. So again, I hesitate to say medium chain, but they're really more in the medium area. And these are found in almost all plants that I'm aware of. So quite common. Okay. Now, these are in very small amounts. These are not in any way therapeutic amounts in a Diascorea plant. But the fact is, they're there. I wanted you to know it. I wanted you to realize that there is, some benefit here as well. So I'm going to call it trace amounts of that. All right. All right. Well, the next big question that always comes up is, how do I take it? Well, you need to follow the label recommendations, folks. And that's what you need to do. And I've been saying this globally because I'll always have people who will say to me, well, but what if I do it this way? And what if I do it that way? And what happens? Will it go faster if I do this? Or if I stand on my left foot facing west on a Tuesday, will that change it? No. Follow the label recommendations. That's what I need you to do. So take it with or without food. Either way. Now, there is some anecdotal information that says that possibly Plus might support your cholesterol, that is having healthy cholesterol levels, that it might if you take it just before food. Well, maybe. We have not done a study on that. I say it only because I get so many associates asking me that question because they've heard it from other associates. Again, we know that some sterols at certain dose levels, and I mentioned to you 1.3 grams or greater per day is what the study showed. But your total of Diascorea villosa extract is 200 milligrams per tablet. So you're not going to reach the levels in the studies. But could it contribute to having healthier cholesterol levels? Yeah, probably yes. We don't have a study done on that specifically. And when I ask for funds for studies, because as a chief science officer, I have to lobby for funds to do studies. And the board of directors will do their job. And their job is to ensure that shareholders have maximum return. And I get that. That's their job. My job is to do science. And so I try and get money for studies. But when I try and get money for a product to study a product that is selling terrifically well all by itself without doing a single study, then, well, you know what they say to me. It's like, why do you want the money? Well, because I want to study this factor or that factor. Is the product not selling? No, it's selling just fine. Well, then you don't need the money. That's sort of the way the logic works with it. What am I going to do? All right, so we don't have a study on that. We probably won't. And I'm just giving this background information. All right, so take it with or without food. And take this tablet, one tablet, 3 times daily. one, 3 times daily. It's important to space it out throughout the day because you don't have never-ending function in your body from a single tablet. Now, we know from scientific study, actually, that more than 70% of people who take dietary supplements will take supplements faithfully 1 time a day, usually at breakfast. And then when you get to 2 times a day, that number drops down to about 40%. And when you get down to 3 times a day, that number drops down to less than 20%. Most people just don't want to do it more than once a day. They're thinking about, oh, I'm starting my morning, doing all the important things, get my day going, and they'll take it once a day and then that's it. Well, 1 tablet 3 times a day. If you take 3 at once, it's not going to stretch out for you all day long. Okay. So think about having a tablet at breakfast, at lunch, and at dinner. That's pretty simple. So try and do that. It's important to also note that this is all naturally sourced ingredients, all of the actives, free from gluten, of course, free from dairy, no artificial colors, and no preservatives. And it's vegan friendly. So obviously that means it's also vegetarian friendly. This is quite a deal. And by the way, it's also kosher. Now, I know that not everybody cares about that, but understand that kosher is yet another sort of standard that you should brag about if you're representing this product. A certain standard of purity that meets kosher requirements as well as scientific requirements. And that's all pretty important stuff. So this is a product, plus this is a product that everybody should take, men and women, and this can help you have more robust health. And I'll just say before I close, when I first started testing this product, and some of you may or may not be aware of how I used to do the tests. When I was in practice years ago, and before I started supporting Mannatech, I would try and budget about 30% of my monthly budget. I did not always meet that goal. I'll tell you, I didn't always meet the goal. But I would try to budget about 30% of my monthly clinic profits to help people who were indigent, who had no health insurance, no means of taking care of themselves health-wise and so on. And I would give them free product and free service and so on. In exchange, very often I would ask them, would you allow me to give you this product or that product, and then allow me please to monitor your health changes to see if there is a change with this product. In almost every case, they would say yes. And this allowed me to test a lot of products over time. And one of the products, as I mentioned, that I tested was Plus. And something was pretty interesting to me because early on, we're talking 30 years ago, and early on, there wasn't a great deal known about plant sterols, not nearly as much as we know today. And what I found was that many people who were suffering from, quote, fatigue, unquote, uh, seemed to be doing a lot better when I was giving them Plus. And when I checked various biomarkers in their blood, I was surprised too. Now, there are obviously some functions of the plant sterols that go above and beyond what we're talking about here. We have not studied those potential functions. I'm just passing on to you that in the beginning, I saw people say, I feel much better when I take the Plus, and I got that more from women than from men. It was always more noticeable for women than for men. I feel much better. My energy is better. Just my general sense of well-being and desire to just get out there and do it is better than it was before. And so when I say robust health, that's what I'm talking about. I believe that if you take this product, as my volunteer patients did, as I do every day, as hundreds of thousands of people do around planet Earth, I believe that you may have much more robust health than you currently do. You're just going to feel better. All right. And for a lot of, in marketing terms, the marketing people always tell me, we don't really need to do much to market plus because it makes people feel good. And then they tell a friend who tells a friend who tells a friend. It's a product that sells itself because it makes you feel good. And you notice it if you stop taking it. So that's important too. So that is plus for Australasia. And I hope that this has been enlightening for all of you. And I hope that if you're not taking plus yet, that you're going to start taking plus one tablet 3 times a day. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn this back over then to Poppy.
Thank you so much for that amazing call. It just learning all about Plus. I mean, everyone knows it's such an amazing product, and just hearing all the science and benefits between the ingredients. And I think it's also really important that, we focused as well on how this benefits men, because I think sometimes we always assume it's more of a women's product. So that was really
Oh, yeah.
interesting. Thank you so, so much for your call today. It was, yeah, brilliant as always. So